Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your host, Jay, and you are watching live right here in our studios from Inside Out. Thank you guys so much for being here. I do very much appreciate it. And as you guys can see in the title description tonight, we have a very special guest who has some information insight about what's going on in one of our Texas prisons. And I think a lot of you guys are going to be shocked and kind of, upset with some of the information that he's going to share here with us tonight. So with that said, let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody, to the channel. I'm your host, Jay. Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of this great podcast. As you guys can see, we're going to be talking about something that is obviously happened, and we got some insight and information coming from somebody that's actually, got some information about this to share with us all. With that being said, please welcome our co-host, Tammy, to the show real quick. Welcome, Tammy. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. Again, we made it to another Wednesday, so I'm proud about that. These weeks and days are just flying by, as you know.
They are.
I'm glad you're here, and thank you so much for helping out with the podcast and giving out this information and setting this up. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, I got to make a correction. And
okay,
I told
go ahead.
Jim I would fix my snafu. Jim himself is not a veteran. His brother is, and we wish we could have actually had him on the show if there had been a way to be able to do that.
Okay, fair enough.
DJ does not make things easy for these type of interviews and things like that. They really throw up some hurdles. But Jim, on his behest, might as well have been a veteran to a lot of things. Because he is the DAV auxiliary chaplain at his DAV, his local DAV, but he has assisted many veterans and veteran families besides for just his brother over the years. So he's put in the blood, sweat, and tears in a different way.
Okay,
and
fair enough.
I commend him very heavily for that. His family has endured a lot with what's gone on with his brother's case.
Sure.
So,
well, we're here to support this situation and him and his brother. So absolutely. So with that being said, thank you so much, Tammy, for the correction. It happens. We're only human over here. We make mistakes. So it is what it is. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Jim Hall. Welcome, Jim. How you doing?
Hey, let me explain something. I'm going home from church. We got about another mile and a half, 2 miles. So there is some road noise that might be a problem. I hope not.
Okay.
I am a chaplain of the DAV auxiliary in all of north central Arkansas. I cover a large area. I'm the only chaplain for this whole area. And I served and we found out Gerald has been a lifetime member of the Disabled American Veterans for several decades. And in talking with him one day, we found out my brother did not have a chapter. After he had, he moved from there, and no chapter in Texas once. So in a DAV meeting, I brought it up.
Yeah, he's gonna cut out. Okay.
I'm his advocate. I'm his next of kin. And if he doesn't survive this ordeal, we hope that's not how it turns out.
Right.
Ready for me to start? Okay. My
All right,
brother,
so
Gerald Hall, My brother Gerald is according on paper, a convicted child sex rapist. Sired his own grandbaby when his daughter was 13. That's the official story. That's Gerald was living with her oldest brother at the time his daughter got pregnant. And evidence that I have, and the court Texas had, I'm pregnant in Oklahoma, not Texas.
Hey, Jim, we're losing connection with you because of your driving and your internet connection. What we can do is we can wait till you get home, get to your destination, and get to your where you need to be, and then we can get you back.
I'm less than a mile from home. Okay, I'm less than a mile from home, and it should automatically connect to my my Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Okay, give me just a minute, Jim. Let me kind of explain to them what's going on. So, Jim's brother Gerald is in TDCJ. He was wrongfully convicted. They have another brother, an older brother, who actually committed the crime. And the state there in Arkansas, they said that they basically didn't go with all the charges. They didn't go with the flow. They went with the truth. When Texas got a hold of it and they brought him to Texas, they hemmed him up here. So he is actually serving for a crime he did not commit.
Sounds so familiar.
No evidence, no any of that. The same as a lot of people that
the baby, my niece, was born in Texas. Born in Paris, Texas, Lamar County. Gerald had relocated there, had a pretty good job. He worked so many hours on Social Security disability. He was on VA benefits, trying to get his full VA disability. And raising a teenage girl that came out of a horrible situation. The girl's mother, well, I'll just say it. I mean, it said on here, basically buyer beware. Gerald walked in one day to pick up his daughter. His ex had moved to Texas, to St. Louis. Gerald walked in. She's having sex with her boyfriend on the sofa. Her two boys are watching it, and Jean is watching it, and Jean was 9 years
old. Wow.
Jean was raped repeatedly by her half brothers. So Gerald's already got a troubled girl.
Wow.
Can't tell Gerald's story without mentioning. I got to mention my story and make it as short as possible. Google Don, D-O-N, Haslam, H-A-S-L-A-M. But Google Hall Children Haslam. And you'll find our child welfare case out of Oklahoma, Claremore, Oklahoma. I lived in another county an hour south. I had a wife that had mental illness, 5 kids. And my oldest brother, Jeff, being a family, what was it he called it? Patriarch. And the head of the family came down, took my wife and children away from me and dropped them in a women's shelter, Claremore, Oklahoma. And my horror started.
Wow.
I was accused of everything you could imagine and some you wouldn't want to. Horrible things. Raping my children, molesting my children, child abuse, domestic violence. But if you'll read Don Haslam's article about my family, our story, down towards the bottom it says, read the final order here. And you click on that link. And here is what you find. The only public order in existence in this nation out of a child welfare case. The only one It's not a door, but a window in what happens in child welfare cases. I am a child welfare reform advocate. I serve on the admin team of Family Forward Project. I'm over the Arkansas group. In October, I drove 414 miles to Oklahoma City and spoke at a rally of over 300 people at the state capital of Oklahoma. And I told my story and Gerald's story, because Gerald's story joins mine in Claremore. Gerald needed work, needed a place to stay with his daughter, needed help with his daughter. So he went to my oldest brother, Jeff. Jeff was married, had 2 children. Jeff had 5 kids in a house as foster parent. And Jeff worked at the Green Acres Sod Store as their general manager. And it got Gerald a job driving an 18-wheeler, hauling sod out of the fields an hour or so south of home. You know, grass, dirt, that's a hard thing to do, to sell grass and dirt. That's what Don Haslam said in court one day. Embarrassed Jeff, 10th grade dropout, made Jeff admit he was a 10th grade dropout. Jeff admitted all he knew was hearsay, what somebody else had told him about me. My children were removed out of Jeff's home because Jeff was abusing my children. And they brought them to me that night. Totally unexpected. Out of the blue, get a call. How many can you handle? We don't have a place for them. We have to put them in a group home. How many children can you handle? I said, well, how many are there? The worker said, I think 5. I said, are you sure? We had a big laugh. Give me just a second. I'm switching this over to the home.
Okay. So I don't know if y'all are all following this, but Jim had his own personal story and trouble with the courts. Now, I posted his story. It has kind of laid a foundation for other child support, unfounded cases.
Yeah, been there, done that.
They won, and it big time. It is a very unique case. You will not find very many, maybe under 10 in the whole country.
Now,
what he went through. And I put it in the link. I posted the link in the chat for you guys to go read on the attorney. Yeah, you're on now.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay.
It's still choppy, but you're back.
We had a sad happening in my story in October. Judge Gary J. Dean, my friend, who we became friends after he retired, judge of our case, the 6th judge, Judge Dean passed away. And I immediately started working with the governor of Oklahoma site. Now, I live in Arkansas. And I started working with the governor of Oklahoma. Sorry about jiggling the phone. And I applied for accommodation for his honor, my friend. And the day before his memorial, December 13th, his mom's 84th birthday. His memorial was December the 14th. A mailman, postal worker, knocked on his wife's widow's door, handed her the governor's commendation for Judge Dean for a lifetime of service.
Oh, wow.
It was the least I could do for him. Now, here's what Judge Dean said about Jeff's testimony. All my family that testified against me, I lost them all. Here's what Judge Dean said about our story. In that public order, you will read, all allegations against the father, that be me, were manufactured and fabricated so the mother could receive services. all cleared my name, restored my name, my reputation. And why I wanted to believe the worst against Gerald, I don't know. 6 years into Gerald's incarceration, and I'm happy when I found out he had to wear a diaper. I actually laughed about it. I thought it was funny. Child rapist has to wear a diaper. I got a phone call from the Texas Tribune. They want to do a story on the Red Door brothel out of Dallas. They want to talk to my niece. Is there a way to reach her? They had come across a comment I'd made on a site about Gerald. Found me. And I told them, I got her information, but I won't give it to you. I took his phone number and gave it to my niece. My niece called him, and they did a 4-part story on the Red Door brothel of Dallas. According to the article, my niece outed herself, used Gerald's full name, Gerald Hall. They did hide her last name, but she said her name was Jean, so she outed herself. So I'm not violating any law saying that. She did it. I'm just quoting from the article. She was at a group home near Dallas, and a friend she'd made at the group home had a better place she could stay and got her to run away with. We now realize that was a child sex trafficking recruiter. And Jane went into child sex trafficking. According to the news article, she's out on the street working. Late one night, cop undercover busts her, and she outed the whole story. Made their whole case. Now, the madam of the brothel swore under oath she didn't know who Jean was. I don't believe that. But when I read that article, Jean sent me a link to it. I read that article. I went, oh my God, she lied. It was a big enough lie to get my attention. See, Jean didn't run away once from that group home. She ran away 4 times. Jean became the recruiter. She get herself, quote unquote, caught, go back into the group home, get other girls to run away with her. All to the Red Door brothel.
Wow.
With that being a humongous lie to me, I sat down, I copied and pasted the article, not the pictures, but the article, being very careful, took out Jean's name, made it clear to Gerald that she had given her name, but I'm not including her name. I X'd it out, basically, you know. And I think I put in my niece. Instead of Jean, I put my niece. And I wrote Gerald. He was at the All Red Unit at the time. And I wrote Gerald and I said, prove to me you didn't do this. He sent me the transcript of the only hearing he's had, no trial. He sent a DNA crime lab report. I was shocked.
Wow.
The DNA report had my name clearly on it. James Hall. Had John Hall, had Jeff Hall. But the first name on it was Gerald Hall, the accused. So it wasn't a blind DNA test for the crime lab. They already knew who was guilty. The police, Paris Police Detective Steed was his last name, told them who did it. With that bias already in the DNA samples. Now, we later learned that John refused to give a DNA, but when they threatened court action, he gave it. Now, keep in mind, you got a Texas detective in Oklahoma trying to collect DNA. My DNA, I was in Arkansas by then. My DNA wasn't taken in Arkansas. It was taken at a poultry show, a chicken show in Shawnee, Oklahoma that I was attending. And it was closer for him, Steve, to drive to Shawnee than it was to Arkansas. I sat in his car. He did my fingerprints. He did the swab and interviewed me right there in the patrol car.
Wow.
John, basically the same way. Jeff refused. They threatened court action. Jeff thought he had to Claremore, Oklahoma, Rogers County official in his back pocket. They wouldn't do anything to him. They wouldn't enforce Texas orders. Jeff got concerned. So he agreed to give his DNA, but he would mail it back to him. So there is some doubt about Jeff's DNA being Jeff's DNA. What the report does prove is this. The DNA report, Texas Crime Lab, proves Jeff lying to my attorney, Don Haslam, back in, 2005, that him and I had different mothers. We laughed about that. We still laughing about it. We have an eyewitness to both the conception and birth of me and all four of my siblings. Don Haslam said, "You had an eyewitness?" I said, "Yeah." "Who?" I said, "Mom. She was there. She was there when they were conceived. She was there when we were born." So we laugh about that.
Wow.
So the DNA test proves Jeff and I are full-blood siblings. We have the same father. We have the same mother. We all do. We knew that. They tested Gene's DNA against all five of us. We had some doubt at one time because Gene's mother had multiple affairs. Gene is Gerald's daughter. No doubt about it. That was proven. But we're not trying to prove if Gene is Gerald's daughter. We're trying to prove if, and I won't say her name because it wasn't used in the article, if my great niece, Gerald's granddaughter, was his daughter and his granddaughter. And here's what the Texas Crime Lab determined. The court and the prosecutor and the public defender had this document. A more probable paternity than the accused is the same generation, a first generation male familial of the accused. His father, his son, or his brother. Now, this DNA was done in 2010. My great niece was born in, I believe, 2008 or late 2007. My father passed away in 1998. So that eliminates that. Gerald has no biological sons. He has one. His wife was pregnant when they met, and he put his name on the boy's birth certificate. Shouldn't have, but he did. But it's not a biological son. So Gerald's father's dead. He has no sons. It's got to be me, John, or Jeff. I'm going through the worst time of my life during the time his daughter got pregnant. I'm fighting for my kids. I didn't even speak to any of my siblings during that time. I haven't spoken to Jeff since 2005. Don't plan on it, ever. He won't be going in the rapture. I don't care if he is pastor. I know there is no way I'm the father of Gerald's granddad. I spoke to John about it. John got offended when I suggested John could be the father. John's a big shot realtor in Tulsa area. So John said, I was never alone with a girl, ever. So let's go look at the article in the Paris News. Man receives 40 years for incestuous relationship. Gerald put a drug gene with his Ambien that he was taking from the VA, put a hood on her head and raped her, trying to convince her he was someone he wasn't. Gene couldn't identify by face. Plus, she's on Ambien, a date rape drug. So, knowing Gerald was working for Jeff, driving an 18-wheeler flatbed some days, overnight to sod farms, we know his wife, his 2 children, and my. Now, we also know that Jeff was drugging my children to make them go to sleep and be better behaved. My children wouldn't even for 6 months eat any that was like mashed potato or really any food without seeing me dip it out of the container and me eating first. Because Jeff put drugs in their medicine, drugs in their food. Ice cream, gravy, Jello, whatever. So we know, based on what my children told me, Jeff was drugging them. Was he using the Ambien he stole out of Gerald's medicine box that was at Jeff's house? Don't know. Now, let's go back before the days of our wonderful caller ID. I'm in college in Tennessee. I called my mother to talk to her. Mom answers the phone. Understand there's no caller ID. Mom answers the phone. I said, what you doing, Mom? She said, you got 2 seconds to tell me who you are or I hang up. I said, do what? You got 2 seconds. I'm counting. I said, Mother, I call you all the way from Tennessee and you're going to hang up on me? She said, okay, you tell me who you were. I said, wait a minute, Mom. What's going on? My brother John had called her a couple of days before. Talked to Mom for over 30 minutes. Kept the conversation on Mom and Dad only. And never identified who he was. And my mother, bless her heart, could not tell which one of us 4 boys it was on the phone. You tell me, a 13-year-old girl that's been given Ambien knows which of us 4 men was on top of her? There's no way she can identify our voices. You go look at my brother Jeff's preaching sermons on Facebook and compare it to this video. Look at him and look at me. I think girls.
Hey Jim, I don't know if you can hear me, Jim. I think your headsets is going dead on you. So is there a way you can disconnect your headset and just talk normally through the mic?
Yeah. Let me. I hope it doesn't disconnect you. I don't know how to turn it off any other way. Let me see if I can get the speaker on.
I think he's having some connection issues. Can you still hear us?
I'm sorry. I'm going to put it up in my ear. Okay, is this working?
There you go. That's way better.
Okay. According to the article that we know was written by the prosecutor, Gary Young, provided to the Parish News, she was drugged with Ambien and raped with a hood on her head. By matter of research and elimination, we know the only one that could possibly be the father of that baby is Jeff. Jeff's now pastor of a church in Alva, Oklahoma.
Greetings.
A child rapist is pastoring a church in Alva, Oklahoma. Okay. Now, that's documentation and proof Gerald is innocent. Now, I mentioned Don Haslam for a reason. When you go and look at our story, scroll to the top of the page, look at the toolbar. It says, cleaning out the criminal justice system of Lamar County. Don Haslam asked me to send a letter to the Texas bar recommending he be accepted at the Texas bar so we could go home to Paris, Texas, where he was well known. His dad was well known, well liked, well loved. And Don stumbled into a pay-to-play scheme with judges, prosecutor, and public defender. Public defender and prosecutor, according to news articles on Don Haslam's website and documentation, they turned on the judges. Now, Gerald had two judges in Texas. One was child welfare judge Scott McDowell, Eric Clifford. His criminal judge, when they referred it to the criminal charges, was Scott McDowell. Gerald did not, until I told him 6 years into his sentence, that he had two different judges. He had no idea. Checked the documents he had, and he goes, "You're right. They weren't the same guy." I said, "No, they weren't, Gerald." Now, Scott McDowell caved first. He was at the end of a term, running for re-election, holding fundraisers. He accepted a plea agreement with the state of Texas. Judge McDowell did. He agreed to relinquish his law license, resign from office, never hold office again. He told everybody he had health issues. Well, he's partly right. He had an incurable, highly deadly, contagious disease. 2 years later, Eric Clifford, in the middle of a term, resigned, relinquished his law license, agreed never to practice law again. Both men get their $70,000 plus a year retirement. What was the disease they both caught? The disease I like to call, I'm a crooked judge and I don't want to die in prison disease. Can you imagine what would happen if they went to TDCJ, torture? How many have they put in there? They wouldn't live a week inside TDCJ. They'd have to be held in ADSEC for their entire sentence. But the two crooked judges that sent my brother to prison, they aren't in prison. They're free to do whatever they want to except practice law with $70,000 a year retirement. And that's the minimum. They won't tell me exactly how much they get. Now, when I first got involved in advocating for Gerald, he was at the All Red unit. He was part of the All Red Wheelers, wheelchair-bound inmates. level G2, G3 at a G5 prison. Gerald filed a complaint with the Department of Justice. DOJ attorney Nabina Sinha met TDCJ attorneys at the gate one day, and the first one they asked to speak to was my brother Gerald. I've spoken to Ms. Sinha. She should be on the case now, but they're still investigating. That was in 2014. There is an agreement between the state of Texas and the Department of Justice of how Gerald is to be housed. They won't let me see a copy of it because it's an ongoing investigation. It's how the FBI and Department of Justice hide stuff. And TDCJ will not give it to me with a FOIA either. They won't give Gerald a copy. For years on his jacket that went from unit to unit, it had a DOJ watch sticker on it. Somebody took it off. He is never to be housed in segregated housing. He is to remain at a level G2. He is to remain in medical. They are currently violating every bit of it. He has been at 6 or 8 units in 2024 alone. They wouldn't send him to anywhere. Well, he had bed sores. So they sent him from Gib Lewis to Estelle Medical. They got the bed sores fixed, but couldn't send him back to Gib Lewis because he can't be in a chute. And he needs a trapeze. So they held him at Estelle in a infirmary back room where he was the only one in the cell, but it opened up into like 6 cells, had 1 day room. And they immediately started torturing him there. We're talking about Estelle's at Huntsville. Well, I thought he'd have a good fit because who's going to hurt him in Huntsville? Anybody from Huntsville, Brian Collier could walk in on you. One day, a medical clerk, he was coming back from an appointment at one of the clinics, a medical clerk employed by TDCJ, no medical anything, just a clerk. No nurse, no nothing. Had his bed removed from his cell, all of his items removed. 2 officers, 1 a sergeant, pushed him into the cell. They lifted a quadriplegic, incomplete quadriplegic, with extensive carpal tunnel syndrome in both hands, out of the wheelchair, set him on a cold concrete floor for 4 hours.
What in the hell?
There is a new DOJ complaint, but I haven't been contacted back by. We're waiting on my birthday to see what happens. Because for my birthday, on January 20th, we get a new DOJ Attorney General, we get a new FBI Director, we get a new Department of Defense, and we get a new Veterans Director, Secretary. I can't wait to be starting to contact all of them and my senator, U.S. Senator Tom Cotton. He was finally moved to back to Gib Lewis, but not a fit. They told him that he needed to be in assisted living. He got sent to PAC 1 unit, where eventually the regional medical director came in, rewrote all his passes because I keep taking them off. Oh, I didn't mention the assault at the Stiles unit in 2019. They broke his neck. Gerald has 4 steel plates, 16 screws, and according to the CD-ROM I got from Galveston, some dead dude's ankle bone in his neck. Donor tissue where they laser carve out to look like the vertebrae of the spine and put it in place. He suffers from extreme dysphagia. Now, a quick Google will tell you that is difficulty swallowing. How do you cure it? Can't even swallow your own spit. But a 32-ounce Hospital Galveston mug that I thought hard to get him able to keep, filled with ice and then water, and kept with ice in it, lets him swallow his own spit, his medicine, and his food. I have fought endlessly at every unit he goes to get his ice pass restored. Because he doesn't need ice, they say. They broke in one infirmary, they broke the ice machine so they didn't have to give him ice. At PAC 1, the Regional 6 regional medical director rewrote all his passes and restored all of them. But because he didn't have a trapeze, they moved into Jester 3. At Jester 3, because they're in region, 3? They don't have to do what the regional medical director, region 6, said to do. So they remove all his medical passes. Eventually, we got him restored. Then they moved him to Pulaski, region 1. Dr. July, Julye, I believe, has removed all of his medical passes, says another doctor she knows that treated him last year says he can walk. They've seen him walking. So he's not allowed to have any help to go to the shower, to get his food or his medicine. He has no trapeze. Remember, they couldn't send him to Gib Lewis because they didn't have a trapeze. Wow. He went 8 days at Christmas time without a shower. He verbally refused a shower for 8 days. According to the nurses. But when a captain walked by and she realized she could smell him from the door through the tray drop door, she asked him why he was refusing to take a shower. He said, "Ma'am, I'm not. I can't get out of bed to get in my wheelchair without help, and they won't help me." She ordered somebody to take him to the shower, and he got a shower. He's verbally refusing to eat because they're leaving his food at the door. He can't get out of bed to get to the door. He's refusing to take his medicines. Again, they're leaving it at the door. Man. Because Dr. July thinks that's how you cure quadriplegia. Now, I have a federal document from the Veterans Administration, August 2023. It gives him full disability going back to 1991 at Fort Hood, Texas, when he got hurt. Somewhere in his medical records back in the 90s, it listed him as having fibromyalgia connected to his traumatic head injury. So they have awarded him in excess of $100,000. But some idiot in Washington passed a law that if you're incarcerated, you only get 10% of your VA benefits.
Wow.
The lawyer in Tulsa that represented him on his VA claim, who died, got $20,000. I went almost 4-hour drive to Little Rock after Gerald gave me all this clearance to talk to the VA. He's only going to get $2,000. And he ain't got it yet in over a year. Because somebody at Waco VA office put in his VA file, he's a convicted child sex rapist. Ugh. The stigma. Now, we have got some good news. We have got His new veterans representative for the VA is the Arkansas Department of Veterans Affairs, our county VA office, who I have a good rapport with. After all, I'm their chaplain, their auxiliary, DAV auxiliary. And I've got full clearance of his case. Gerald sends them a letter. They call me. I come out there and we discuss what we're going to do next. And we have filed for me to have apportionment. I qualify. Dad's been gone a long time. I serve in place of Gerald's father in his life. I'm also his chaplain, confidant. If anything said over TDCJ phone lines can be confidence. And when that money comes in, we will pay for Gerald's exoneration. And it may be sooner than that, because I had a phone call first stage today with a lawyer out of Texas. Second stage will be at 10 a.m. in the morning. If I clear that one, Gerald will have a lawyer. I have made it clear to TDCJ and UTMB, very clear. I live in Arkansas, Western District. We're a historical, legendary federal district. We're the home of the first ever judge of the district, hanging Judge Isaac Parker. Bass Reeves, first African-American U.S. Marshal, he appointed. Now, our court is, federal building is a mile south of where I'm at right now. But our court here in Harrison, Arkansas is unstaffed. It's open, but unstaffed. So most likely, if I sue Texas for deferred indifference, and the intentional infliction of emotional distress on me and my 84-year-old mother, we will sue the Western District of Arkansas. Most likely they'll hold everything in Fayetteville. When you take the elevator up to the courtroom floor, walk out of the elevator into the lobby of the clerks in the courtroom, there's a 4-foot wide, 6-foot tall portrait of Judge Isaac Parker. He set a legal precedent for this district as its first judge. And it continues. At Fort Smith, near the Judge Isaac Parker Federal Building, sits Judge Parker's courthouse and a replica of his gallows. In one day, Judge Parker, one time, he hanged 6 men on the same gallows. The ropes aren't there, but the gallows have been restored. It's an amazing thing. Nearby is the U.S. Marshals Museum with a whole lot of information about both Judge Parker and Bass Reeves. If I file, y'all are in the 5th Federal District, I'm in the 8th. If I file over here, it can only be moved to Texarkana. It can't go past Texarkana. And that's Texarkana, Arkansas. Western District of Arkansas. Now, the funny thing is, the Texas Federal Courthouse sits across the hallway from the Arkansas Federal Courthouse. Gerald can come to the Texas Courthouse escorted by TDCJ when he needs to testify, enrolled across the hallway by the U.S. Marshals. He can't get off the floor without going back to Texas. So there's no way he could try to, quote, unquote, escape in a wheelchair. That's another thing. He's supposed to be transported with a non-emergent ambulance. They've changed it back to wheelchair vans, where they lock him in so tight he can't even breathe. They're supposed to use the soft cuffs. That's been changed. Now, let me tell you about, I want to say it's Timothy Signew, something like that. He's a former U.S. Army military policeman. He's a current Texas Army National Guard member. He's a licensed vocational nurse at Pulaski. And if I can get it done, I will have him court-martialed. He comes to the unit in uniform of Texas Army National Guard without insignia. We don't know if he's a private, a lieutenant. I've told Gerald, call him private. Use respect. Private insignia. Gerald said, I can't do that. I said, he'll correct you, whatever rank he is. I want this nurse, a man, I want him recalled to active duty United States Army. I want him court-martialed and sent for the rest of his life to Fort Leavenworth Military Prison. A veteran, a current member of the Texas Army National Guard is committing torture on a United States disabled veteran. It's horrible. Man. And to tell you the whole story would take hours.
Right.
It's horrible what they've done. They tell him, one of the nurses, I think it was the Texas Army National Guard, told him, you'll never get Mr. Is medical release for emergency reasons. You'll never get Mr. Is. You'll never get parole. We're going to make sure you die in here.
Man.
Who the heck do they think they are?
They think they're above the law.
And when they get upset at me because I become assertive, I remind them I'm an ordained minister. Oh, one of the wardens actually said I cussed him out. Assistant wardens, one of the unit, I cussed him out. I'm an ordained minister. I don't use vulgarity. I probably used some words I learned in college that he couldn't understand with his limited education. I love the Texas Troll Facebook page. Watching what they're doing inside and what some of these guys are actually doing. Is this where women go to pick up men? Is it TDCJ? Two nurses on one of Gerald's unit got walked out while he was in the medical, and they got walked out of the unit. They got in a cat fight with each other because one found out the other one was dating her man, her incarcerated man. It's like, what the? Nurses and employees, UTMB and TDCJ, are not legally able to have a relationship with anybody currently serving a prison sentence. Ain't that the first thing they teach them?
It should be, Jim, and I'm 100% on board with that. We've done shows and podcasts. I do not think opposite sex gender should be in either one's prisons. I think we need to have all female staff at female prisons. I think we need all male staff at male prisons. No go between, and I don't care if it's.
Well, that might not work out.
Yeah.
As you read Judge Dean's public order in our child welfare case, you will find out that a threat, he said email, was actually on a news website, anonymously posted. My children would be better off dead than with me. A threat to kill my children. Tulsa Cybercrimes investigated and found the computer it came from was the home master bedroom computer of Oklahoma Coalition Against Domestic Violence board member and SafeNet Services director, Donna Grabo, who threatened to kill my children. Now, they couldn't arrest her and prosecute her because she claimed 2 other people had access to the computer. I said, who? Well, her 17-year-old daughter and her lover. I said, her lover? Who's her lover? They said, well, Jim, your ex-wife. Whoa, wait a minute. My ex was getting mental health services through SafeNet. The director's having an affair and they're living together. 2 women. State of Oklahoma law calls that a rape. And I couldn't get them to charge Donna Grabo with rape. But Judge Dean outed her. So having just women at women prisons working there, you got some of these women, they don't care which side they swing. I personally think it's wrong, but we're in America and they're free to be wrong if they want to be that way. What they're not free to do is this: violate my Constitution, 8th Amendment, that protects us against unreasonable, cruel and unreasonable torture.
Punishment, correct.
And Gerald has been submitted to violations of the 8th Amendment for the last 13 years. February the 11th, we celebrate his 13th year inside the prison. He was in jail before that in December or something. They made sure they locked him up for Christmas. They made sure they separated him from all family. Now get this. Guess who pushed this case from day one? Everywhere Gerald moved to, guess who called child welfare to get him investigated for raping his daughter? Jeff.
Wow.
Guess who kept calling child welfare on me for years? Jeff.
Imagine that.
I've only sued, in Southeast Arkansas, when I lived there, I only sued 5 circuit judges of Arkansas. And I've got a current case against my grandson's judge in the neighboring county. That's in Judge Parker's courtroom. And when I sent a copy of my filing to UTMB attorney Bruce Garcia, the only one I'm allowed to talk to now at UTMB, I'm not allowed to talk to the wonderful lady, Stephanie Cervantes, patient liaison. She's great. Helped me with a lot of problems Gerald was having. But I'm only allowed to talk to Mr. Garcia. And I sent him proof I know how to file pro se a federal complaint.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who Mr. Garcia copies every email he sends me to? Lucy Pruitt. Lucy Pruitt is employed by the Texas Attorney General's office. And if they're listening, call me. We'll talk settlement right now.
All right.
That puts Gerald immediately exonerated and released. Enough money to get him whatever he wants and to live on it. Now, do you know what Gerald's dream is when he gets home? He wants 1,000 acres. He'll put his cabin in the middle of it. He's tired of living next to people. I don't blame him. It'll be near me. I'll move on to the land to help him. And he's going to start putting cabins in for homeless, disabled veterans to have a place to come. We already had the ministry set up. It's a 508A1C, faith-based nonprofit. We do whatever we want to, talk politically, and IRS can't do nothing about it because we're a 508. And we're incorporated in the state of Arkansas.
Jim, one of the viewers wanted to know if Jeff's DNA was tested.
Yes.
You were breaking up, so that was
okay.
So has
Jeff the DNA report
test for his niece's baby?
Okay. The Texas Crime Lab DNA report listed the following names: Gerald Hall, the accused; James Hall, that would be me; John Hall, and Jeff Hall. All four of us, DNA was compared to Jean and to Jean's daughter, who's now 16 or almost 16. Jean is definitely Gerald's daughter. There was some doubt of that because of the affairs his wife was doing. But Bridget is not Gerald's daughter. Oh, shouldn't have said that name. Sorry. Been all over the news anyway. She's not Gerald's daughter. She's Gerald's granddaughter. He has lost 16 years nearly. Well, 13, 14 years with his granddaughter.
Man, what an upsetting case. What an upsetting
And if anybody wants to compare my voice with Jeff's, he pastors the Assembly of God Church in Alva, Oklahoma, and he goes by Jeffrey Hall on Facebook. And if Jeff wants to sue me for libel and slander and defamation, bring it on, buddy. If he sues me in Oklahoma federal court, Don Haslam will represent me. He done been beat by Don once, and there ain't no better lawyer in the world than Don. I'm telling you, he's good. He's the only honest lawyer I've ever met other than Judge Dean.
So some viewers in the chat said, so who fathered the baby?
Jeff had to be. I'm eliminated because I was never around him during that time. Gerald is eliminated because, John is eliminated because John claims he was never alone with the girl. The only person it could be would be Jeff. Now, I challenged Jeff to disprove this. Submit to a DNA test with my great niece and compare it. And prove he's not the father of that baby. He won't do it because he knows he is.
Okay. Well, man, what a very sad and upsetting, situation here. My heart and prayers and everything go out to the family in this big ass mess. Excuse my French. But man, I hope there is some closure with this, and I hope that some positivity comes out of this. Tammy, is there something you wanted to say?
Here's what Jeff did to my family. All 5 of my children were abused in his home by him and his wife. And in another foster home, I had children that were molested by a cop who was also a pastor. We've never got justice for what was done to my family. I want justice for Gerald.
Yeah. Man, I totally understand all this. I in a certain degree, I can relate to this, man. So, Tammy, is there something that you wanted to add to this, Tammy, real quick before we bounce out of here? Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, everybody's wondering why Gerald is the one in prison, why they have not let him out based on the fact that he did not father the baby. Can you explain?
They will tell you Gerald pled guilty. I missed that. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
On the day that Gerald pled guilty, signed a plea agreement for 40 years in the state of Texas, the public defender involved in the 2 judges' cases was Gerald's public defender, David Turner. David Turner told Gerald, this best deal you get. In the transcript of the hearing, one person testified against Gerald and said, the DNA proves he did it, Judge. That witness was David Turner, Gerald's attorney. Yeah.
Wow.
And the day Gerald had been in jail, county jail, for over a month, 2 months, something like that. All of his prescriptions were being mailed from the VA Center hospital near there to the county jail in Lamar County. The county jail's nurse was administering those prescriptions to Gerald. Everybody in the case knew what Gerald was on. Now, remember the congressman, remember the Kennedy family that got caught in Washington, D.C., DUI, and woke up naked in a jail cell? He took his Ambien for sleep and woke up naked in a jail cell with a DUI. He never drank, ever. And he went to work on getting the prescribing guidelines lowered. And in 2012, the Ambien guidelines were lowered by the FDA to about half what they were in 2010, 2011. Gerald signed a plea agreement February the 11th, 2011.
Yes,
he was on Ambien, double the dose legal today, fentanyl, hydrocodone, Toradol, and 4 psychotics, all legally prescribed by the wonderful, wonderful doctors at the Veterans Administration Medical Center.
That's about to say.
You know, the ones that President Trump fired last time?
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah, those guys. And anybody that deals with veterans know they don't get good health care. Gerald was medically, legally unable to sign a plea agreement because he couldn't understand what he signed. At the level of Ambien he was on, it was so much into his bloodstream and his system, his mind, that he was actually 24/7 under the influence of Ambien. Now, Ambien is what is used now as a rape drug. You don't remember what you do when you're on it. Now, when I first started talking to Gerald again, I asked him, is it possible you were on Ambien and she raped you? Because she was doing it with everybody. And Gerald said, I don't know. And that would have been a really good argument if the DNA proved it was his baby. But it proved it wasn't. But Gerald signed a plea agreement. Had he went to trial, age of his daughter was, had he went to trial and was convicted, he'd have got 10 years. Gerald will soon turn 60 years old. And if he doesn't get out exonerated or some sort of parole, he will be in prison till he's 85 years old. I don't believe he can survive that long. Not with his own doctors and nurses mistreating him. Oh, there are no registered nurses in that back infirmary. The doctor seldom comes in. The licensed vocational nurses are actually issuing medical orders. Do y'all let nurses practice medicine in Texas?
Yes, we have nurse practitioners and things like that, but
no, these are not nurse.
They don't work them, and they don't have them at the
practitioners.
They don't have. They're not equipped. And
not my problem.
The unit to take care of them. And, not
now, let me explain to Texas. Well, let me tell a quick story. Okay, if I may, let me tell a quick story. In a neighboring county, a couple of years ago, we had a drug addict alcoholic on his way to or from the liquor store during a storm walked into a downed Entergy electric line. Because of the pretrial publicity, they moved it to our county. Had a jury from our county, Arkansas Ozark jury. Entergy, big electric company, argued. When they knew they were going to lose, they argued. Don't give his sister the value she valued his life at. Give his sister how he valued his life. Put all of his criminal convictions up and want him to give the sister nothing. The jury in my county gave the sister $2 million.
Jeez.
What do you think an Arkansas Ozark hillbilly jury will give me if they murder my brother in prison in wrongful death? What do you think they're going to give me if I take what I have right now into court for the deferred indifference?
No amount will ever bring back your family members, so you can't really put a price tag on it.
No. I've lost a personal relationship with my best friend, my brother.
Right.
We've always been close. Fought like cats and dogs when we were little, but as brothers. Some have said I need to forgive Jeff. I will. I have.
Well, yeah.
But Jeff needs to ask God to forgive him, and I will know. I told John one day, I'll know when Jeff asks God to forgive him. Well, how will you know? I said, he'll come over here. He will go to every one of my 5 children. He will apologize to each one of them. My phone keeps wanting to buzz. Sorry. He will come over here and he will apologize to me, my mother, and all 5 of my children.
Right.
Now, Jeff did what he did in Oklahoma, where he moved my wife and children from my mother's 10 acres we lived on. Told me he wanted Dad's inheritance. I told Gerald here a while back, everybody was looking for Dad's money where he had it at what bank. He had no money. But I found Dad's inheritance. I found it. And I got it. Gerald said, I wish I had it. I said, I know. See, Gerald's smart enough to figure out Dad's inheritance wasn't land, farm equipment, livestock, money in the bank, stocks and bonds.
Yep.
Dad's inheritance was Mom.
Yeah.
Mom and I now live together. I'm divorced. Not sure I'll ever remarry. Not after all I've been through.
Right.
But I take care of Mom. She takes care of me when I get sick. I'm a survivor of renal cell cancer.
Wow.
I have PTSD. Somebody comes up the angle to me fast, I jump, block my face. I'm a victim of domestic violence, but I took care of that problem by becoming a domestic violence victim advocate. And I told the governor of Oklahoma at a humongous rally that's all over the internet, if you go to Stop OKDHS on Facebook, you'll see the video. I told them at that Oklahoman for Children's Rights rally, drove 414 miles to get there, held up Judge Dean's public order, read some of it. I told them, you've had 20 years to straighten this problem out, and y'all ain't done nothing.
Crazy.
I gave my scripture. The king's heart is in the hands of the Lord, and like the rivers of water, he turns it wherever it's way he wants. These judges' hearts, TDCJ, UTMB, their hearts are in the hands of God.
Absolutely.
That is a fearful place to be, the Bible says, in the hands of the living God. Amen. I'm not threatening them. I'm telling them your judgment's coming. Jesus said, and we always say, oh, it's children. Jesus said, what you do to the least of these your brethren, you do it unto me. Nurses, Dr. July, you're doing this to one of the least of our brethren. If you're a believer, Jehovah Yeshua will sit on his throne one day, and you will be judged for what you do inside. Every one of them guys in that prison, all the TDCJ, all the UTMB, will be judged one day. You don't want to go before that judgment throne.
No.
And it's being recorded according to Scripture. Oh, the video was malfunctioning. Not on my King's video. It ain't malfunctioning. What are they going to say that day?
Mm-hmm.
So Gerald will be exonerated before or after death. Either way, we'll get it done. And I'll drag their butts to Arkansas in subpoenas to testify. Now, I want to say this, and I'll be done. There was one thing through all this. They have been trying to take his wheelchair away, saying he can walk. There is one item I'm going to ask the jury to give me. I want your governor, whether he's out of office yet or not, I want your governor, Greg Abbott, in the courtroom that day. Mm-hmm. And I want the jury to award me Greg Abbott's wheelchair. He can crawl back to Texas. If he can have a wheelchair, they can make sure my brother stays in one. If Greg Abbott is allowed to keep a wheelchair, then a honorary discharge, service-connected, disabled veteran who's factually innocent should be able to keep his wheelchair and be given a power wheelchair so he can go back to his shoe. Now, I doubt if we'll actually get Greg Abbott's wheelchair, but you get my point. I appreciate y'all letting me come on. I really do. And I hope this not only helps Gerald, I hope it helps a whole lot of them.
Oh, absolutely. And again, keep in mind, if you can hear me okay, just let you know that this podcast is for you. So if you ever need to come back up for whatever reason to, finish the story if need be, or have a part 2, we definitely can do that. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, hopefully the next one we have, Gerald and I can sit down together with you. But know this. Yeah. The day he is released from custody, exonerated, and we drive across that state line, he will never visit the state of Texas again.
I don't blame him.
And I'm a little leery of it.
Okay.
He got caught in Texas and found guilty of being a disabled veteran on medication. That's what he got convicted for.
Unreal.
No matter what else they say, that was the crime he committed, was being a disabled veteran.
Wow. Unreal.
And when they say y'all's like a whole nother country, as an advocate nationwide for child welfare reform, they're all as nasty as the next one.
Yeah.
They got prison issues all over the nation. They've got.
Yeah, I know. I've been doing this for 6
years. It's not just Texas. Texas is bad, but it's not just Texas.
No, it's
all over, Jim. And I want to say something real quick. I want everybody to remember what I always say. Our emails, our voices is so important. I encourage you, if you have questions for Jim, to reach out to him on Facebook. He's Jim Hall. You can find him on my Facebook. You can find him in the TPA Veterans page. I encourage you to reach out to him if you want to assist or help or write any letters on behalf of his brother. That is a very minimal least that we can do to bring some light to this case particular, to a veteran who served our country, signed his life away on the dotted line, who is being absolutely tortured and abused in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. And I'm telling you, if it's the last thing I do before I quit breathing on this earth, there's going to be a whole lot more of this. A whole lot more of exposing these rotten, corrupt judges, public pretenders, the corrections officers that don't tote the line the right way. The anybody that puts on a uniform of any kind that represents a state should be held up to a higher standard of morals.
Oh, absolutely.
And if we can't, as American taxpayers, make them do that, then we need to dismantle the whole confounded system and build it the right way.
Absolutely.
Oklahoma State Senator Dana Prieto, a friend of mine, in a press conference in Tulsa, talking about the Oklahoma Department of Human Service and Oklahoma juvenile criminal system in Oklahoma. Here's what he said. Burn it to the ground. Burn it, baby, burn it. I told him on Facebook, I got a match. Now, he didn't mean go light everything on fire. He meant tear it all the way down the foundation, start over. And they are investigating a lot of things in Oklahoma right now. Now, am I still visible to everybody?
We're probably seeing.
I want to show your listeners, your viewers. I want to show them something. Can I make sure I'm on live video, not just side of my head?
You're on live video.
Okay. Can you see what's above my head on the shelf?
Yes, sir.
I sure do.
Amen.
That is Willie Crockett Marsh's memorial funeral flag that hung on his coffin at his memorial. My grandfather. And it was given to me by his granddaughter. He was my step grandfather, but his granddaughter and his daughter and my grandmother gave it to me. This is why I serve our veterans.
Yes, sir.
I'm available. I'm an ordained minister. I'm available for graveside services, funerals, and weddings, preferably not at the same event. We kind of joke about that up here. I serve those who served. And I make an excellent witness on a witness stand. Now, here's something we did not know that we've recently found out. 5 or 6 of these nurses that's torturing my brother, their fellow co-workers had filed complaints with the Texas Nursing Board. I have a complaint against them with the Texas Nursing Board now. I have been busy, and I've got to probably do that before the end of the night. File a complaint with the Texas Medical Board against Dr. July. I've got journals, sworn affidavits I'm filing with those. You can file complaints with the medical board, the Texas Medical Board, or your state medical board, your state nursing board. You can file these complaints. You can go to the Department of Justice website and file a civil rights complaint. And when enough complaints against the same person comes up, they will take action on it. And according to Texas Troll, TDCJ Troll, they're walking officers off units almost daily in handcuffs. The big fat black boy down at one unit, I'm not trying to be racist, I'm not. Big old black guy, they had to take the shackles for the ankles and put on his hands. He was so fat. Do these guys not know it's illegal to carry contraband into the units? Was the gummy bears laced with meth at Allred for prisoners, or was it for the officer's personal use at his workstation?
Wow. Well, Jim, we got to wrap this up.
There's probably more criminals working for the state than there are incarcerated by the state.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, we got to.
Thank you so much, Jay. Thank you, Tammy.
Yeah, absolutely, my pleasure. We'll do this again. We got you. We got you.
Absolutely is. But next time, hopefully, with Gerald, it's like they say, our Jewish brethren say, next year in Jerusalem. And I tell Gerald next year in Harrison. Next Christmas will be in Harrison. Next New Year's will be in Harrison.
You're more than welcome to come back up in the future if you need to. So we're here.
Absolutely. You be abundantly blessed. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, sir. You have a great night.
You, veterans.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your time. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night. All right. So, Tammy, did you have a closing argument real quick before we bounce out of here?
I don't want to take up too much time. Guys, I know that was a lot of material to cover. So maybe on Friday we'll do an open mic night. There's a lot of people that were writing me, asking me questions.
I know, me too.
The audio was rough. He is out in the middle of Arkansas, and the reception.
We do apologize on that, guys.
But that's part of doing lives, and that's part of it. But there is a lot of multitude things that went on. So we'll go in more depth so that I can get you the answers you want. I know a lot about what has happened with him. So I do appreciate everybody. And just remember, we have a lot of power together. All of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have so much power together.
Yep.
And
this is how it starts. Yep. Yeah. And this is how it starts. Banding together, standing together, and being one. You know, so absolutely. So thank you, Tammy, for your help for doing this podcast. And again, major shout out for Jim for being here and all the stuff. I almost said crap, but all the stuff that he went through. We support him nonetheless, and we're gonna help him in this matter. So he's definitely welcome to come back. So he was an awesome person to come up here and tell his story. So we appreciate it. But with that being said, Tammy and everybody in the chat, thank you guys so much for being here. Usually I say hi to everybody in the chat, but we lost time tonight in the way things were working. So anyways, I do not acknowledge you guys. I saw every one of you guys here tonight. Again, we broke viewing records. So again, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, until we see you, what was it? Friday. We have Friday, open mic night?
Yeah, we'll do open mic so that we can talk about some of the things in not only this case, but similarities in other cases that I'm very well aware of, and try and give some information out as to how to handle things like this. And where do you go? Who do you turn to? Where can you get help? And what you should or shouldn't do when you're in this process. And kind of the things that I wish I would have known when I started this journey.
Right.
No,
yeah.
Well, hindsight's 20/20, but we learn as we go, and we keep learning. I learn something new every day.
Yeah, it's a lot to digest, isn't it? So it's nerve-wracking.
It can be.
But all right, well, yeah, absolutely. Well, again, Tammy, appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here, and everybody in the chat. Love and respect you all, and we'll see you this Friday with open mic night. With that said, I'm your host, Jay. You all have a great night. Good night.
Good night.